Okay, today we're going to unlock a secret that is totally transforming education. It's a simple but really powerful tool for mastering complex subjects, and the whole thing fits on a single page. It's called a knowledge organizer.
So let's just start with this one big idea. What if? What if the most essential knowledge for an entire topic, I'm talking the absolute must-know core stuff, could be boiled down onto a single sheet of paper? Well, that's the promise of the tool we're diving into today.
Now, to really get why this one-page tool is such a game changer, we first need to understand the problem it's built to solve. You can think of it as the knowledge puzzle. You know, it's that classic problem that drives teachers, parents, and of course students absolutely crazy. You spend weeks, maybe even months on a topic, it feels like it's sinking in, and then a few weeks later, poof, it's just gone. So why on earth does this happen so often?
Well, a lot of the research points to one key culprit, something called curriculum fragmentation. This is what happens when knowledge is taught as just a bunch of disconnected facts and ideas, sort of floating around without any real structure to hold them together. And the reason for this is pretty simple when you think about it. Our brains are wired to build networks of information. So if a new idea has nothing to connect to, no existing framework to hook onto, it just can't find a permanent home in our long-term memory. It gets lost. But what if we could give students that framework right from day one? Well, this brings us to our one-page solution.
And here it is, the Knowledge Organizer, or KO for short. It's a single-page document that lays out the absolute must-know information. And this is key. It's not the entire curriculum, it's the foundation. It's the sturdy ground that all the other learning gets built on.
So what's actually on one of these things? Well, a good KO gets right down to the nitty-gritty, the core building blocks. For a history topic, you're looking at key dates and people. For science, it's going to be your essential diagrams and formulas. For literature, maybe it's key quotes and vocabulary. This is the non-negotiable stuff.
So why? Why does this simple piece of paper work so well? The answer's actually pretty cool, and it all comes down to a bit of cognitive science. Let's look at how KOs basically hack our brains for better learning.
Okay, think about your brain having two kinds of memory. You've got your working memory, which is like a tiny little sticky note. It can only hold a few new things at once and gets overloaded super easily. But then you have your long-term memory, and that's like a massive, beautifully organized library.
So the whole game here is to reduce something called cognitive load. By using a knowledge organizer, we can take that foundational knowledge off of that tiny, overloaded sticky note and file it away correctly in the giant library of our long-term memory. And when we do that, we free up critical mental energy for deeper thinking.
This process is what experts call schema theory. First, the KO organizes the information, which helps students build a mental framework, or a schema. Then, with practice, retrieving those core facts becomes automatic. And here's the magic part. When your brain doesn't have to struggle just to remember a key date or a definition, it's finally free to do the real heavy lifting, things like analysis, problem solving, and critical thinking.
Okay, so the theory sounds great, but how does this actually work in the real world for real students and teachers? Let's take a look at how we get this concept off the page and into practice.
I love this quote because it really hits the nail on the head. The power of a great KO isn't just about what you decide to put in, it's about what you bravely decide to leave out. It's all about that ruthless focus on what is truly essential.
Now, you can't just hand a student a knowledge organizer and hope for the best. That's not going to cut it. The real power is unlocked through active retrieval practice. The research is crystal clear on this. Consistent, low-stakes quizzing is the engine that drives this knowledge from the page deep into long-term memory.
And for students, there's this really simple but super powerful technique. It's called fetch, flip, check, repeat. It's so straightforward. You study a small chunk, you flip the page over, you write out everything you can remember, and then you check your work. And a pro tip? Use a different color for corrections. It makes it really easy to see where you need to focus. It's an active, evidence-based way to actually learn.
You know, the impact of this one-page tool doesn't just stop with the student. It creates this amazing ripple effect that spreads across the entire school community.
Think about it. When KOs are used well, everybody wins. Students finally know exactly what they need to study. Teachers can spend less time on basic recall and more time on deep, interesting discussions. Parents get a clear roadmap to actually help at home. And curriculum leaders can make sure the entire curriculum is logical and connected from one year to the next. It's a win-win-win-win.
Of course, trying something new like this isn't always easy.
So let's tackle some common misconceptions. When someone says, "But I can't fit everything on one page," the reality is you're not supposed to. It's only the foundation. Or what about differentiating? Well, the key is to differentiate the support you give students, not the core knowledge itself. And my favorite, just tell them to learn it. Nope, that's not a strategy. We have to explicitly teach students how to learn effectively.
And so we end right back where we started, with that one big, powerful question. Just imagine for a second, if we really committed to figuring out the essential, non-negotiable core of every single topic, and we made it clear and accessible on a single page, how would that fundamentally change the entire experience of learning for everyone?